Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a situation that's sparked quite a bit of debate around a really well-known figure in Brazil, Padre Fábio de Melo. You, our listener, pointed us to a fascinating collection of sources on this, and our goal today is kind of cut through the noise, understand the core of this controversy, the different viewpoints, and really get to the heart of what it all means.
Absolutely. And it started with something seemingly so small, didn't it? Little price difference on some dulce de leche.
Right.
But it just snowballed. And now it brings up these big questions about influence, accountability online, and, well, that line between public image and private actions, it gets blurry.
It really does. So the initial spark was this social media post, right, by Padre Fábio de Melo, huge online, following about a $6 price difference he found at a Havana store.
Just 6 reais.
Yeah, and the alleged result. The store manager got fired.
And this is where it starts getting murky, because the sources you shared, they show conflicting stories about what actually happened and, how directly involved the priest even was. This simple story just kind of falls apart when you look closer.
Okay, so let's unpack that. We know he posted something on social media, maybe not the exact words, but it was a complaint about the price. Then the manager is reportedly fired. But here's twist number 1. Security footage supposedly shows the priest himself didn't talk to the manager.
Right. It was a friend, apparently.
A friend spoke to the staff, yeah. And then, twist number 2, the ex-manager himself says he never even spoke to the priest.
So you've got this potential gap, right, between him posting about it publicly and what actually went down in the store.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, even if he didn't speak to the manager directly, could his post alone, coming from someone with that much reach, cause these kinds of consequences? Maybe unintended, but still huge consequences.
And Padre Fábio de Melo's reaction to all the attention, these different stories, basically silence. He came back to social media, but one source put it really well, said he feza Egyptia, acted like nothing happened, just ignored the whole discussion.
And restricting comments on his posts too, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Which is, a move.
It is. It's a way to control the narrative, stop the negative comments, sure. But people can also see it as, shutting down valid questions.
Right. Hiding from it.
Makes you wonder who he's posting for then, and what message that silence really sends.
And then later, he actually came out saying he was being persecuted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and blamed social media negativity on the devil, which is quite a statement considering he has, 26 million followers using that same platform?
Wow. Yeah, that really highlights attention, doesn't it? You build this huge platform, it works for you, but then when the criticism comes...
Suddenly it's the devil's work.
Right. It brings up that whole question of responsibility. Does having that massive online voice come with certain obligations? Or is it just a megaphone?
So, now the commentary around this.
Yeah.
It got pretty lively. You had the comedian Mauricio Morales just diving right in.
Oh, yeah, Morel.
He came up with the nickname Padre Fábio de Melo, Father Honeycomb.
Yeah.
And just ran with the whole idea of this, quote, apostle of facial harmonization being tempted by dulce de leche.
His whole take was comedy, obviously, but it poked at some real points, Comparing the manager to the Old Testament, the Consumer Protection Code, as scripture.
Yeah.
It highlighted the power imbalance, how maybe extreme the reaction was to something so small. Humor as a way to show the absurdity, I guess.
And his theological breakdown, that was sharp, wasn't it?
It really was.
Gluttony for the sweets, avarice over the $6, pride with the facial stuff, and then breaking the 8th commandment, bearing false witness, potentially.
And comparing it to Joseph and Potiphar's wife.
Right. How a possibly twisted story can just ruin someone.
Exactly. He used satire to kind of question the ethics of it all, contrasting the priest's public moral persona with, this specific incident. The humor makes the potential hypocrisy stand out more.
Then you have Diego Schwang digging into who Padre Fábio de Melo follows online.
Ah, yes, that was another angle.
And found some, let's say, curious connections. A doctor, Catholic, but within photos. A makeup artist tied to Havon. A singer sharing Brian Gilson stuff.
There was a vet, too, supposedly at the store.
Yeah, Vitor Sanchez. Another doctor, Lucas Henrique. And even Rodrigo Godoy, Preda Gil's ex, who has an OnlyFans.
Wow. Okay. So Schwang wasn't focused just on the dulce de leche thing.
No, he was broadening it out, looking at the priest's wider image, his online crowd.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Does who you follow online reflect your values? Or are there contradictions there that people might pick up on, especially for a public figure like him, that curated online self?
And Schwang really zeroed back in on the money 6 raise.
Such a tiny amount.
He basically framed it as the priest choosing, like vengeance over empathy,
Right.
potentially messing up someone's job over practically nothing.
And that brings us back to proportionality, right? Was putting it out there publicly, given his huge following, a reasonable response to that small issue, whatever the exact details were? It forces you to think about the ethics of using that kind of platform for personal complaints.
And the sources also dug up some older stuff, didn't they? A video.
Yeah, apparently an old video surfaced of him with a reporter from a small podcast, Sabah podcast, in Alagoas,
And the perception was.
that he came across as maybe a bit dismissive, lacking sympathy, some said, which, feeds into the narrative people were already building around this current controversy.
Right, context matters. Old clips can suddenly seem more significant.
Exactly. It shapes how people see him, makes them question if his behavior is consistent.
But it wasn't all criticism. Firmino, on that show Panico, had a slightly different take.
Okay, what was his angle?
He kind of argued the priest's only mistake was posting it. He tried to separate Padre Fábio, the consumer, who has rights, from Padre Fábio, the huge public figure.
That's interesting. So, acknowledging he had a right to complain as a customer?
Yeah, but also recognizing that because he's famous, posting it changes everything.
Right. That power dynamic kicks in. A regular person complains, maybe nothing happens. He complains, someone might lose their job. The influence is undeniable, even if the initial complaint was technically valid from a consumer standpoint.
And Emilio Sarita, also on Panico, he actually went after Havana.
Oh, the company.
Yeah, criticizing them for firing the manager, saying it seemed like they just did it to appease the priest. An overreaction, basically.
That adds another layer, doesn't it? Company responsibility. Did they handle it right? Were they just trying to avoid bad PR because of who complained?
Which all leads back to this core thing, his platform. 26 million followers. That's immense power.
It really is.
And the sources even hinted at, how fragile that fan base might be if certain private life details came out. Like, they threw out the hypothetical relationship homo afectivo.
Whoa. Okay.
Just questioning how much his success is tied specifically to his image as a priest.
Yeah, that really gets at the heart of public figures, especially those tied to specific institutions or values. That balancing act between the public persona people expect and, well, their actual private life.
Posting concert videos, travel pics.
Moving on, essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
While the manager, according to reports, is still out of a job.
Ugh.
And the priest still hasn't really addressed the core issue, the complaint, the firing, any of it.
That difference is stark, isn't it? Him carrying on, the manager facing real consequences. It really drives home how online actions, especially from powerful people, can have serious real-world effects.
So wrapping this up, it started small, a price dispute. But because of who was involved and the power of social media, it exploded, led to a job loss, kicked off this huge public debate with all these conflicting stories and opinions, from comedy takedowns to serious questions about power, influence, responsibility.
It really makes you think hard about the weight that comes with having a huge online voice,
Yeah.
Especially for public figures. What does this whole thing say about how we handle accountability online and how our clicks and posts can actually impact someone's life, maybe in ways we don't even anticipate?
Yeah.
And how do we square these public images people build with their actions when things get messy? It's definitely something worth mulling over.
Absolutely. Lots of different viewpoints in those sources, no simple answers here. We hope exploring them gives you, the listener, plenty to think about so you can form your own conclusions. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.